Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the topic of our last episode, combating information overload to make better decisions. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Now, let's learn a little about our guest today. Pete helps entrepreneurs transform their frustrations into freedoms by using a variety of frameworks that help them cut through the chaos and overwhelm of running a business. With over 27 years as a business owner, he's refined many of his tips, tools, and techniques in the trenches within his own businesses. Pete started coaching others in business because of his belief that you own your business, it shouldn't own you. It's time to start using frameworks that allow you to have a turnkey business so that you can live the life that you deserve. So Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Candy. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Before we get into questions that I have for you on this topic, I would love for you to just tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you became interested in coaching entrepreneurs.
Well, long story short, I'm a family man. I've got 3 great boys, married a long time, and been a lifelong entrepreneur, Candy. And, it's just been a thrill to be a business owner for so many years. And, I've learned a lot of stuff, and I love spending most of my time these days helping other people enjoy, like you said in the intro, the life that, and live the life that they want to lead as business owners. And, I find what happens is we get into business. I think about I got into business, my first real business. I had lots of small businesses when I was going through university and stuff, but my first real business, I was 23. And I kind of think back and, maybe what I thought my life would look like was a little different than it was then, but kind of going back and you think about whenever you started your business or when our listeners started their business or bought their business, they had this dream of business ownership, right? And what did that look like? What did it mean for your life? What did it mean for your family? What did it mean for your community? What did it mean for your client? All of those kind of things. I think a lot of times business owners have been at it, and most of my clients have been at it for, 3, 5, 10 years, that kind of stuff. They're established, they're doing well. Maybe they have more profit now than they did, which is one of the 5 Ps of my 5P framework that we'll probably talk about today. But, from that side of things, they might have more profit now, but they maybe don't have some of those freedoms that they thought they would have when they first got into business.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more time. Maybe, hey, you know what? I want to take a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation in the last 5 years. Or maybe now's the time that I can actually take a month off and go to Europe or to Australia or to whatever, and like thinking about those kind of things when you first started your business. That's the kind of thing that, we start going back to that, because when we start a business or we take over a business, we're usually it's like hands on, all hands on deck. 50, 60, 70 hours a week, plowing through all this stuff, making every single decision. And then you kind of get to a point where you don't do that anymore.
Right.
It's like, okay, I did what I had to do. We're at a point now, it's like, okay, so what do I need to do? Because we become habitualized with making all the accountability calls and making all of those kind of things because we've had to. Most people don't start a business or buy a business with huge, deep pockets where they can just afford to hire everybody. Right. So they've had to sit in many of the seats on their accountability chart over the years. And so part of, this whole process is essentially allowing yourself to delegate and, letting others with a firm process in place understand what it means to take control and make a call for you as the business owner with your lenses that you've already set up so that you don't have to make that call anymore. You can be free of that and you can start enjoying some of those freedoms that you want because they're always uniquely yours. I mean, what my freedoms are probably entirely different than what yours are, Candy, and that's okay. But we got into business because we actually wanted to live the life that we wanted to live, not live under the parameters of, I have to open my store in the morning, I have to close my store at night, I have to work 7 days a week and then some. And, that's kind of the framework of small business ownership a lot of times, right? And
Right.
once that profit starts coming in, which I know you're big on accounting and bookkeeping and all of that kind of stuff, and profit's such a big piece.
Yes.
But in order to get profit, which is the 5th P of my framework, and I'll give you the other 4, it starts with your promise, then your product, or if you're a service-based business, service-based, right? So promise, product, process, people, and profit. And when you have those middle 3 aligned, your product, your process, and your people to your promise, that's when the profit really starts to come. And so that's where I get into most of the stuff with my coaching, is like, there's misalignments there. There's some things that aren't congruent, and there's things that just aren't happening maybe the way they should in order to obtain more profit. Because once you obtain more profit, then you have the freedom of choosing, because profit isn't the freedom, but what it can buy you is, right? And whether that's, I want to buy more time, or whether I want to, whatever the case is with that profit, until you actually have profit, you're sort of mired down into the management of your business, as opposed to living in the owner's seat.
Right. Well, and it is so important to have all of those things in alignment. And like you said, having a process in place, which, will hopefully make you more efficient, driving more, profit, all of that too. But even along this topic of what you're talking about, and we want to have freedom as entrepreneurs, but often we end up overburdened. And so your topic is talking about why everyone really should be knowing what your purpose and your mission and all of that is in your business too. So how does that even relate? How does having a mission relate to your 5 Ps, that you just talked about?
Well, it's the number 1. It's the promise, right? So, whatever language you use, purpose, I call it promise in my 5 Ps. But really, how do we align a promise? Well, essentially, here's the very quick and slick way to think about your promise. What problem is your customer having currently? What problem do they have? How do you uniquely solve it with your steps or procedures so that they can live a better life? Because everybody buys a better life, right? Nobody is going to actually write a check or pay by Visa or give you cash for anything if they don't see a better life in it, right? So you need to fully explain with ultimate clarity what problem you are addressing, how you are addressing it uniquely, so that they can live a better life. Because that's the promise that you're making to your client every time you do whatever service, whether it's a bookkeeping service. We own some shoe stores here in Canada called Shoetopia. So we have our promise laid out, and we want, when a customer comes out, I'll give you a sort of our quick and slick promise, because we have a couple of different versions. And we want our customers to look great and feel fantastic. And those 4 words make it like, we're a shoe store. What do we want you to feel at the end of it? We want you to go, and I've narrowed it down to even these letters, right? We want you to feel, ooh, right? OOH. Ooh, I look pretty good when you look in the mirror, right? That's a feeling. It's like, I look good. I like the way these look. And then you want you to close your eyes and go, those feel fantastic. The comfort factor, right? So if I can have somebody look great and feel fantastic, then I'm getting, I finally have found the perfect pair. And they go to the till and they buy them. I've given them that transition of completing the promise, because now we've delivered what we've said, and they're happy to pay their money because they finally found that perfect pair. And when they do that, and we've given them the service and the structure, which is all sort of in the back end of our heart model of Shoetopia, then they walk out the door and they look back at the sign Shoetopia and they think about their experience. And you go, what? Shoetopia is my favorite shoe store. I'm coming back next time I need another pair. So that's the promise, right? So then how do we align all of the things we do? How do we align our product? How do we align our process? How do we align our people to that? Well, our product
Mhm.
obviously has to deliver that, right? Through the brands that
Right.
we choose and through all, how we structure our wholesale division and how we have it in stock and where it's placed and is it visible and all that other stuff. The product has to align. Our service has to align, right? How we deliver our professionalism in our store. Our process has to align, which is all of the other things in the back end. So many processes. How do we check somebody out? How do we receive stuff? How do we take a return? How do we, deal with all these different situations, right down to our bookkeeping? What's involved with processing the paperwork and all of that other stuff, right?
Hmm.
So all the processes. And I've got a little acronym for the word process, which if all your processes are in your head as the business owner, that's a problem. You're never going to be able to
Yes.
assign accountability, right? And so why do you need processes? Well, because processes, here's the acronym, prevent recurring overwhelm by clarifying, evaluating, simplifying, and systematizing. That's
Hmm.
what a process should do. And if you're not including processes as part of your management style so that you can eventually hand them off to somebody else on your accountability chart, and you can then be free, turning your frustrations of doing these tasks and making these decisions all the time into freedoms of saying, I can actually leave my store today or my business, or
Right.
and I'll give you a sad but true story. My father passed away this month.
I'm sorry.
It was kind of expected. He had terminal cancer, but it's never expected. It's your dad, right? Like
Hmm.
you're not ready for it, right? But I got the call and I had to go. They live 5 hours away. And I said to my team, I'm taking off. They already knew my dad was not well. And I said, I don't know when I'll be back. I came back 10 days later. Okay.
Hmm.
After dealing with everything and helped my mom out and all the other stuff. And when I got back, I got back on a Sunday, stopped into our main store on Monday where my management team is. And I said, hey, I'm back. And what do I need to do? And they basically said, nothing.
Hmm.
And that's what I want from my clients. The ability, because stuff does happen
Right.
in our lives. We lose key people. And if we are the key person, we have to leave occasionally, but the business needs to keep going. So
Hmm.
how important are processes? Pretty important. And
Very
then once you
important.
have your processes lined, you assign the people, right? And
Hmm.
that's that fourth P, the people. And I like to bring down the people into three different categories. The first one is, and I'm sure you've talked about it a little bit, your ideal client over all of your
Hmm.
over 100 episodes and what have you. But what's your ideal client and what does that look like? Does it align with your promise? Does it align with the products you're offering? Does it align with the process? That person. And then also, who's your ideal team member? So
Hmm.
the people on your team. And then the third one is, who are your ideal outsource suppliers? Anyone else that is helping you deliver your promise. And that's why that you start with the promise. You start with the clarity of the promise.
Hmm.
Because if it's not super clear, how are you going to pick the right bookkeeper for your business? How are you going to pick the right marketing firm for your business to help you out and to help you, as consultants and different things? Or in my case with shoe stores, how are we going to pick the right brands that we want to represent in our store?
Hmm.
And once you have those things aligned, those middle three in particular, the product, the process, and the people to your promise, that's when like things start to happen and you get busier and things, people understand, the word of mouth gets out. This is what you market to, right? From the
Right.
marketing perspective, it makes marketing very easy because we know who our clients are. We know what our promise is. We know what our product is. I can put my marketing messages together that are going to spin this out the way I need to deliver my promise so that I can help them have a better life in
Hmm.
whatever business you do. It doesn't matter. This
Right.
process happens for every single business because the last P is the profit. And that's where the freedom comes, right?
Hmm.
And so for most of my clients, they kind of have worked through some of this other stuff, but they're kind of struggling with a few of the things. And it's sort of like tweaking out some of this stuff strategically and maybe reworking the promise, because a lot of the times the promise has changed. 10 years later, the promise that they kind of thought about when they did their business plan and stuff, maybe not be quite the same as it is now, but they haven't really done any updating and they haven't aligned their stuff lately. And they're still working with different people that maybe are somewhat irrelevant now, and businesses change.
Right. So the promise obviously is the main key. So
Yeah.
is that different than a mission of the business? And if it is, how do you create the mission statement and like the purpose? Or if it is the same, explain to the listener, this is like the step you would take really to figure out what that promise or that mission
Yeah.
really is for your company.
Yeah. So for me, I usually help my clients create what we call the guiding principles. And the guiding principles, so look great and feel fantastic for Utopia, for example, is more of a theme than it is the mission, right?
Mhm.
And so everybody has different sort of takes on this. My take on the mission is it's your marching orders.
Mhm.
We want to do $2.5 million worth of revenue because we believe that if we get to that point, this is going to happen. And here's the date, right? So you kind of incorporate these different things. So I look at missions more internally, where I would look at a theme more externally,
Mhm.
right? I want to have both because the mission is the marching orders for the team. Then they know what they need to do, right? And why. So in my business, with simplifying entrepreneurship, this coaching business, I want to coach 5,000 people by 2025 because I believe that if I can help entrepreneurs make more money and clear up more time, that they will give more money and give more time back to their communities, because it's my belief that entrepreneurs are the backbones of every community. So in
I
some way,
agree.
that's my mission, right?
Mhm.
That's why we're having this chat today. And so my mission for simplifying entrepreneurship is that, right? It's like, I need to do this because in some way, I know that if I can take them out of their business, that 50, 60, 70, get them down to 30 or 40 in their business running nicely, they're probably going to say, now I actually have some time to help my church, or to help the Little League organization, or to be a member of the Kiwanis Club or the Lions Club and give back in so many different ways. Because you see that time and time again with entrepreneurs, with business owners, they're giving back either their time or their money. And if they're mired down in their business, they never even have a chance to look at that.
Mhm.
And so it's my mission really to go out there and help as many as I can, because my take is that if I can do that, then in some small way, I've helped their community, because I help people all over, not just in my local area. I'm in the States and in Canada and all over the place. But in some way, I've touched maybe that community and helped that community, maybe help that entrepreneur donate for a wing of a hospital or a little playground or, church steeple or whatever the case is. And it's like, in some way, it makes me feel good to think that I can help them to enjoy a better life so that they can then give back.
Right. Well, and it's true. It's like that ripple effect, right? You drop a
Yeah.
stone in the water and they go out. And so giving the time and freedom and everything is dropping that stone, right? And then the ripple effect is, now that they have more time, they can help, do the things that they want to be doing in their community and making an impact. And so
Yeah.
in the long run, that's really what we all want, right? We want purpose for our lives. We didn't start our businesses just to work all the time, right? We want to be able to have that freedom, to be able to make a difference in the community. So I love that you stated that.
One of my big ones is relationships. You mentioned before we hopped on air, you're visiting your son today, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, I want business owners to be able to go visit their sons. Or in my case, my dad has been ill for a while. I spent a lot of time back with my mom and my dad in this past year, and they're 5 hours
Mhm.
away. And if I didn't have the business running on rails, I couldn't have done that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
That's
I
so
want
true.
that for my clients. I want that so that they sit in the owner's box and they're able to be as involved as they feel or need they want to be with their business, and
Mhm.
then be able to have some of these other freedoms around, whether you're needed like I may have been, or whether it's wanted like you are. It's like, I just want to go see my son. It's like, great,
Mhm.
you should be able to. You're a business owner and you've set your business up properly so that you can work remotely and you can manage remotely and do that stuff. And all of those kind of things are some of the freedoms I get excited about. And often what a lot of my clients are saying, can you help me with this stuff? And it's like, sure, yeah, let's go.
Mhm. So once a business owner has determined, like, okay, this is my mission, the purpose, that I even
Mhm.
have for the company, and the promise that I'm offering, to the
Mhm.
customer through the products and the processes
Yep.
and, the people,
Mhm.
how do they communicate that? Who should be the one communicating it? Is it, just the top of the corporate, thing? Is
It's
it
the
all the
leader's job.
employees?
It's the
Touch
leader's
on
job.
that.
And
Mhm.
so, one of the other things I help a lot of business owners with is meeting rhythms. So I told you I had some shoe stores. Well, every Wednesday morning for an hour, I meet with my management team. right? It's a meeting rhythm. And they know at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, we get together for an hour. Sometimes it's virtual. Today, it was actually in store. I was at my store and we sat down and you group around chairs, the four of us, because that's my management team. And we talked about all the things we needed to talk about. But part of that, my job as the leader, is to be bringing everything back to the fact that this is what we need to do and this is why we're doing it. Right. And so when we think about today, we talked about some new brands. Does this brand align with our promise that's on the wall right behind the cash register? Look great, feel fantastic. Does it align? Does the sales rep align? Our stores are in small town. They aren't in big city. Does the sales rep even understand that we're in small town? Has he ever been to our store? Those kind of things. Like, are we aligning with the right people here? These are questions that we go through, right? So we actually have created supplier scorecards and we score them based on 8 or 10 different things that we feel are important for our suppliers, and we score our team members and we score our best clients. And we're trying to get better team members, better suppliers, better clients all the time, because there are no perfect processes. We're always trying to always be perfecting them, right? Making them a little bit better, so we can deliver our promise in a better way. So my job in those meetings is to always be pulling it back to what is it we're here for and understanding why we need to do what we need to do so that decisions can be made without me at the lowest level possible of the business, because they have full clarity over what our promise is. And if we don't have something in a process manual or on a video or audio, which is how we do all of our processes basically in 3 different ways, and it's sort of out of the norm, they should be able to think about our promise and say, I need to make this customer look great and feel fantastic. And in order for me to make this decision, I'm going to make the decision like this. And if they're thinking with that sort of reflection, then there's not much we can do if they thought that was the best thing to do to carry out that promise to our clients. And if my manager or if I or whoever else feels that we would have done something different, then that's a coaching moment, right? It's a coaching moment. And we coach about it. We talk about it. And we say, hey, well, this is how I perceive the lens of this, or you do. And so we get into those kind of discussions, which are great discussions. I mean, coaching moments allow opportunity for next time something happens, you just discuss it in your daily stand-up meeting or your weekly meeting. Or, we changed this morning, we changed one of our special order policies because we've had a special order policy in our store for quite some time and it's not relevant anymore. We changed it, and it was just a minor change, but it was changed today because in our weekly meeting, something came up recently, and it's like, you know what? That's a stupid rule. We need to change that.
So how often should somebody be looking at that, right? If you're talking about, we created these systems, processes, everything, obviously something has changed, but do you wait until like a situation comes up, like you just brought up, where, we had this process, something happened recently, so now we look at it? Or do you just say like every so often we should review what we have, see if anything needs to be changed? Like, what would you recommend for that?
We do both. So because we have regular meeting rhythms, which are a daily stand-up Vox between each other, where we're telling each other what our 3 priorities are between my management team. What are our 3 priorities every single day? We get that on Voxer with our app. And then we have a weekly 1-hour meeting. And then we have a monthly 4-hour meeting offsite. And that's the meeting rhythm that allows us to get everything done and be in constant communication about what needs to be done, driving home the promise, driving home all these things. And every meeting we talk about products. Like I said, it does this align. We talked about that today. We talked about a new brand. We talked about process. Well, one of the processes we talked about was this return policy needs a little tweak, not a big overhaul. Sometimes you need a big overhaul on something because it just isn't relevant anymore. This was a tweak. Fine. We tweak it. And we talk about people. Well, we did talk about people today too, because we had a new staff member join about 2 weeks ago. And I haven't even met the staff member. I'm the owner of the business. I haven't met the staff person. I wasn't part of the hiring process. That's all processed out. I'm not that person's boss. My store manager is. So I didn't hire that person. My store manager did, along with our human resources person, right? So when we look at all of these different things, like that's the process we have in place in order to create my turnkey business and my freedom as a business owner. And does it cost money? Yes. And does it take time? Yes. And when do you start? today. Like, yeah, if you haven't started doing some of this stuff, there's no better time to take a small thing and start laying out your process so that you can then hand it off to somebody and give
So,
them the ability to make the decision.
that's so important. And as you're having these leadership meetings and determining these things, whether it's you're talking about your purpose, the promise, or your processes, at what point do you share all of this with your regular, staff members? And then how do you share the promise publicly with your customers, or just promoting it out there to find new prospects? How do you recommend a business owner do that part of it?
On my podcast, the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast, I say it every podcast. I tell them, like, you own your business and it shouldn't own you, and turn your frustrations into free. Like, I've got a few of those theme lines that I use. So it's like, oh, and by the way, it's on my email. It's my super signature of my email, and it's on my website. And, like, it needs to be plastered anywhere anybody can see it, because they need to know immediately what you do and how you do it. Doesn't matter whether you coach entrepreneurs like I do and you do, whether you're a bookkeeper, a shoe store owner, you sell mattresses, or fix cars. Every business needs to do this, right? And you need to have it very clear and very simple. So that's why I took it down to expressions that you would feel. Ooh, ah, and aha. It doesn't even matter if you speak German and no English. Like, if you see somebody going, ooh, and kind of shaking their head, looking in the mirror, you hear somebody going, ah, like, what that means. So what does it mean for your business and what you're providing their better life? And how does that look? And how does it smell? How does it taste if you're a restaurant? Like, you're thinking, it's like when you walk into our steakhouse, you smell the aromas, or like, whatever the case is. If you're a leather shop, you walk into the leather shop and you smell that leather, or candle place, right? So some people have olfactory, or very sensitive to smell. Others are sensitive to video and light and all that other stuff. Others want to hear their message. So you should be able to provide messages in different ways, because different people receive those messages in different ways too. And think about your business and how you can play around with some of that stuff with language that is going to resonate, so that they can feel attracted by that. They understand me. Right? That's what you want them saying. It's like, he gets me, or she gets me. Like, we're having a podcast today, Candy. And after however many, 130 or something like that you're up to, I think.
Actually,
like
I
that.
think it's even more than that now, but
200,
I don't
and
remember
so
the exact
it's like,
number.
people probably already think they know you, even though you've never met them. You've been spreading this for a while, your mission and all the other stuff. So however we spread it, through a podcast, if you're just listening to this today, or through YouTube, if you're watching this today, in all of these different ways, think about how you, the business owner, the listener here today, can do some of these things to create the different ways of reaching out to your customer and spreading your message. So important, with ultimate clarity, so that they can feel that resonance, and they're like, I think I want to work with that person, because that's when it's like, this is great. The selling's already done.
Well, I know this has been a great introduction to this topic. I know we're running out of time, so I do want to ask if you have an offer that you would like to share, and how listeners can connect with you if they want to learn more.
Thanks so much, Candy. It's just been a real pleasure having a chat today. And for me, the best way to learn more about my business is go over to Simplifying Entrepreneurship. You can just Google it. It's a long one, I know, but Simplifying Entrepreneurship, and you'll find my podcast, my website, all sorts of different things. But when you head over to my website, there's several different areas, but in the top right-hand corner, it says take the assessment. So when you're on simplifyingentrpreneurship.com, take the assessment. And the assessment is a wonderful assessment. It takes you about 10 minutes to do. It's about 45 questions or so, but they're all sort of multiple choice, very simple, very quick. And what it will give you back is it will give you back, depending on how you answer, between a 30 and 50-page PDF document of all of the things that you are doing really well in your business and the things you need to work on a little bit. It green lights them and red lights them. And it puts them in a framework around an airplane that sort of talks about the leadership, the cockpit, the wings, the sales, the marketing, the overhead, cash flow, and some of those kind of things. And it's like, it really just lays things out and it gives you sort of pause for thought to say, I am doing good. And I'm getting a pat on the back on some of this stuff, but I actually do need to look at maybe one or two of these things in the next quarter or the next year so that I've got a bit of a strategic plan that I can move ahead with. And whether you use a coach like you or like me, whatever the case is, depending on what area of the business that you need, or whether you find courses or books or, all that sort of stuff to help you along the way, at least it gives you sort of a bit of a guideline as to how you can move ahead in an even better way, because that's what we want to do, right? With our businesses, we want to move them ahead to create the freedom that we started talking about and use our businesses as the foundation of our lives, as opposed to us always having to be the foundation of the business.
Well, thank you, Pete. This has been an interesting discussion today. I really appreciate your being a guest on my show and, sharing this expertise with our listeners.
Thanks so much for having me, Candy. It's been a pleasure. Make it a great day.
Thanks. And to the listener, I also want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this topic interesting and that it answered some of the questions on why everyone should be able to recite your mission and purpose. And if you have additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Pete or send us a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can join us for our next episode. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share our show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.